there's nothing like a crisis, you know, as Phil said earlier on, almost to put a different lens onto what you do from my perspective, and to look at your people with a whole different frame of reference. So you start to see the people who enjoy it, revel in the crisis piece, some of whom are maybe a bit too hot-headed and charging on ahead and need to be brought back a little bit. Some people who are intimidated by it and find it really difficult to deal with, but they're all really thoughtful individuals, and therefore they're coming up with the really good ideas. So I think this is a time at which, you know, for me as a leader, I am investing even more time in engagement and communication with my teams and with my people. And I'd be encouraging other leaders to do that, so that you can understand where people are psychologically right now and how the situation is affecting them right now. I had a really good question in the other day on a similar webinar saying, well, look, what you're talking about within this freedom in a framework concept of setting parameters, setting delegations, and then allowing people the freedom to operate within that is kind of like the best case scenario. What happens if you've got a team where individuals aren't functioning and aren't doing very well? My honest view on that is that you've got to carry on right now with who you've got. Now is not necessarily the time for trying to manage those individuals, particularly in a harsh way. It's almost a case of deal with what you've got, understand the weaknesses that are being shown, but then understand what also you're going to do about it in a slightly longer term. Phil, to the point of, can you actually allow time for this to happen? Surely there's pressure on you as a senior leader to be driving this on. And how does that sit then when you're wanting to allow people time to develop ideas and solutions themselves?
Yes, I think the reality there is that if you think about the last, let's say, 3 weeks, I've got people in my organization that would go, that the situation has created an enormous amount of free capacity in their life, because suddenly they're at home and you know, the workload's different and they're not traveling to work every day, and so they've got more capacity to do things. Mm-hmm. And you've got probably me that's gone completely the opposite, having to do sort of 80-hour weeks, you know, very tired, having to make a lot of decisions, and really sort of make sure that our direction of travel is solid, and we've covered some of the things that we've had to go through. But you must keep one eye on the future. This is the big trick in this whole thing that I learned from 2008, is you have got to still keep your eye on this future bit where you can begin to capitalize on the opportunities that might come in the future. Mm-hmm. And therefore you've got to make sure that you are giving bits of work to your team that allow them to consider life beyond the current. And so whilst you might not have the individual capacity to do it right now, you can send a strong signal to your team that actually you do see a horizon in the future, and ask them to begin thinking about it and give them permission to start thinking about it. That's the other kind of big thing, is that, you know, sometimes people do get a bit stuck and they just think, well, actually what I'll do is I'll wait and be, you know, a ready hands on deck in order that I can help when I'm called for. Or actually you could go, well, no, to be honest, you could help over there at the moment. So maybe if you nipped over there and gave a little bit of thought to this, it would be very helpful to plug you in a couple of weeks when we've got a little bit more time and a little bit more capacity to deal with this particular issue. I just want to make one other point around that as well, which is it's always worth taking a step back when you have somebody within your framework that you might think is an agitator. They might not be. They could be your best brain on this problem right now. So, you know, if you think of De Bono's 6 hats, you know, they could actually be your hidden black hat in your organization who could help you, because they are actually thinking about the risks, the problems, what could go wrong rather than what could go right. So if you're overly optimistic, then you need that black hat person to be coming forward to normalize your thinking and to start to identify some of those risks. So, you know, that's one other thing I always just, you know, have a word of caution, is that just because somebody might be, or you perceive they might be negative towards what you want right now, they might actually be somebody that you really need to bring in close to your thinking.